As a party, people often who don't know us very well use the cliche, think globally and act locally, and certainly as a party we've focused a great deal and had our most success on the local level. We currently have 50 people holding elected office across the state. We've had about 175 different Greens be elected since our party was founded, and actually our first guy was Bob Ornelas in Arcata back in 1990. Yeah, Bob was awesome. So what that does for us is it shows that we not only have good ideas, but we can govern. And we've had a return rate of about 85 to 88% of our incumbents being reelected. It's very strong, and that's saying that regular people giving a chance, because on the local level, it's easier to express your preferences, and it's easier for people to be elected without the big money and all the partisan labels. It shows that people will embrace this agenda, and they've done it across all sorts of lines and different sorts of communities across the state. Now, the interesting experience that Larry has had, two things. As an individual, Larry, and I've seen this because I've spent some time with him in meetings of Green office holders and just followed his career. I've read some of his writings and other things. Larry manages to combine really a deep spiritual underpinning to what he's about, but very practical. He's been a mayor, he's been a city council member since 1998. So he does show it's possible to do both of those and to do them successfully and do them in a way that other people embrace him, because they've returned him to office. The other thing is, Larry has been part of a Green City Council majority in Sebastopol since 2000. The first Green City Council majority we had in the country is between 96 and 98 in Arcata. It was big news. There was a lot of national television, a lot of hoopla. What are the Greens going to do? Are they going to nationalize the banks? All that sort of thing. Well, the interesting thing about Larry and the experience in Sebastopol is we haven't been seeing all this wide-eyed, crazy media, like what are they doing? But the fact is, the people have returned them to office, and we've continued to have a majority every cycle. 2000, 02, 04, 06, and it's going to continue to 08. So what Larry's experience is showing us is that you can go ahead and govern. Greens can run a city, it can be practical, it can work, and in a state like California with the population and growth pressures that we have, which doesn't make it easy because things are changing very fast, Greens have been able to go along with that change. With that, I ask you to welcome Larry Robinson.
Thank you, Mike. Great to be here. I want to share a poem with you to begin. Those of you who know me know that poetry is one of the things that sustains me. David White says, "This is not the age of information. This is not the age of information. Turn off the news and the radio and your blurred screen. This is a time for loaves and fishes. People are hungry, and one good word is bread for 1,000. So what I want to talk about a little bit before I get into telling you what we're doing in Sebastopol is to share with you my thought that what we really need at this point is a new narrative. People have all the information they need, but they don't have a story that connects their experience of what's happening right now to their vision of what could be happening, of the world that might be. Politics is ultimately about storytelling. And if we don't get that, we're never going to have any impact on the real world. The Democrats are losers in terms of storytelling. The Republicans are masterful storytellers. Ronald Reagan was probably the best storyteller that we've had in the presidency for many generations. Now, admittedly, it's a very pernicious and dangerous and destructive story that he was telling, but it was a story that captured people's imaginations. And people are hungry for a story that addresses what's really happening in the world. And everybody knows we're in trouble, right? But if you don't tell a story that acknowledges the darkness, that acknowledges the trouble we're in, and yet shows the path through the darkness to the light, we stay mired in the old story, in the darkness. And the story that the Green Party could tell is a one that acknowledges the collapse of all of our institutions at this point. And we're in a period in history where all of our institutions are unraveling. Our educational systems, our political systems, our corporate systems, our religious systems, all of these are unraveling. And it's creating a great sense of insecurity in people, but it's also a time of great possibility. And this is the window of opportunity for the Greens to tell a story about the meaning of this that shows people how we can get to a world of real sustainability. Now, as much as I love and believe in the 10 key principles, they are not what wins elections. They're not how you tell a story that captures people's imaginations. You got to focus it down to one or two key principles. And in Sebastopol, what we're trying to do is create a brand image for the Green Party, and that is responsibility. It's clear that the Republicans are the party of irresponsibility at this time. Everybody knows that now. The Democrats don't have any coherent, responsible position or a narrative that addresses the ecological crisis, the social crisis, the economic crisis that we're going into deeper and deeper. In Sebastopol, we acknowledge that we're just one microcosm in the bigger picture. But what we're trying to do is create a model of a sustainable community because that's really all we can do where we are. In hopes that as we move deeper into the chaos, little examples like Sebastopol, like Arcata, like Fairfax, like New Paltz, can be those seed crystals that give shape to what emerges out of the chaos on the other side. So we're trying to demonstrate good governance, as Mike says, and a vision of sustainability. Sustainability means living within your means economically, ecologically, and socially. So we're in the process right now of developing what we call the wealth index, a triple bottom line wealth index that will measure how the progress we're making in terms of social equity, in terms of environmental protection, and in terms of prosperity for all of our residents. When I first ran for office in '98, sustainability was the platform that I ran on. And when I was knocking on doors, most of the people that I talked to had no idea what that meant. So it was an opportunity to explain what sustainability is. Essentially living within your means. Living off of your earnings rather than your capital and that's a way to put it that most people can understand. So then you draw the connection to your groundwater, to your energy sources, to your waste disposal, to your land use, and then they get it. So we're at a point now in Sonoma County where everybody is talking about sustainability. Chambers of Commerce, our Chamber of Commerce in Sebastopol has adopted sustainability as its guiding principle now. So we're trying to, on the one hand, institute policies that will lay the foundation for creating a sustainable community, and at the same time educate people in creating a culture and an attitude of sustainability. And one of the things we've done is to look at how we grow. And we are acknowledging that as long as there is population growth in this country, there will be population growth in our community. We can't say no growth, because what that does is push the growth somewhere else. And if people have to commute 100 miles to work in our community, you know what that's doing to the atmosphere and to public health and to families. So we're acknowledging that we need to find ways to grow in our community that are sustainable, at least within the context of what's happening in the larger culture. So we have a growth management ordinance that defines how many new units we're building in any given year. We've established an urban growth boundary that says beyond this area until 2016, we will not annex any more property. So all new growth has to be city-centered, which means higher density and taller buildings. I mean, Sebastopol traditionally has had 1- and 2-story buildings. Now we're looking at 3- and 4-story buildings for our new redevelopment area in mixed use, transit-oriented, pedestrian-oriented. What's now being called smart growth is what we've been trying to do for a long time. We're also looking at our future energy supplies. I'm sure most of you are aware of the issue of peak oil and energy vulnerability. We appointed a citizens commission a couple of years ago that's developing an energy vulnerability analysis and contingency plans for us, anticipating that at some point in the near future, it may be this year, it may be as late as 2010, but soon, world production of petroleum is going to peak, and certain things are going to happen as a result of that. One is there will be disruption of energy supplies, and the price is going to go through the roof. So in anticipation of that, we're putting photovoltaics on every possible city building. We're on target to be generating 1 megawatt of electricity on our own rooftops within the next year. We're introducing energy efficiency measures. We're also, and this ties in with our global responsibility for the climate. We've set a target goal of reducing our greenhouse gas emissions from base year 2000 to 2010 by 30%. And it now looks like we can hit a target of 42% by 2008. And our photovoltaics are part of that. Replacing our gasoline fleet with biodiesel, with natural gas, replacing our diesel fleet with biodiesel. We're also, because we've created a livable, beautiful, desirable community, one of the unfortunate side effects is there's a high demand for property in Sebastopol. So we now have one of the highest housing costs in Northern California. The median price home is over $750,000, which is, that's unsustainable. So we've now instituted an inclusionary requirement for 25% of all new construction has to be affordable to families living between 80 and 90% of the median family income. It's still not enough. So we've also been using our redevelopment funds to buy land and to develop our own affordable housing projects. So two of our projects are, one is ownership and the other is rental, but they're both co-housing. They're both built to the highest green building standards. We also have a mandatory green building program, and we're working on an ordinance which we should have in place by the end of this year, which will require photovoltaics on all new construction. We realize that what we're doing is just a drop in the bucket of what has to happen, but somebody has to step forward and take that leadership position, but not step so far forward that people don't come with you. And this is a key thing that I've been learning the hard way about leadership, that if you step out too far ahead of people, they don't know where you're going, they get scared, and they resist. So the trick is to step forward not knowing if anybody's going to be following, but always backfill by educating people and inspiring them. When we first did our inclusionary housing ordinance, the business community, the development community was adamantly opposed, and we had a tremendous amount of pushback. So we had to step back a bit and tinker with the policy to provide incentives as well as requirements. And now most of our development community is on board with that. When in 2000 we initiated a policy of no pesticide spraying, no chemical herbicides and pesticides used on city-owned property. And at the beginning of my political career then, I was naive and I thought that policy alone would do it. So we ran through this policy and immediately got pushback from the city staff who I had neglected to talk to about it ahead of time. So I had to spend a year working with them, restoring the trust and helping, getting them to help in developing the implementation plan. And now they're totally behind it. But what I learned is that if you step too far ahead, you can stumble and there's nobody there to catch you. So what I want to suggest to the Green Party is that we have a window of opportunity in this period of chaos that we're entering into to change the dialogue in this country, to really offer a different narrative. But we have to do it in a way, in language that people can understand, that won't frighten them, not pander to them,